In today's video, I wanted to talk about Gary Trent Jr. This is a guy who last night led the Raptors in a win over the best team in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns. This man's dropped 42 points on 13 of 21 shooting, 8 of 11 from 3, and this is another gem that the Raptors have found, and he's really going to help them in their future. For those of you that watch the channel, you know that, of course, I'm a diehard Raptors fan. I've been really impressed with the way they've been playing this season. I've really liked the way that their players have grown, and they have a really good young core. I made a couple of videos on the channel about them, and we all know that the way this team is built is by Masai Ujiri seeing things in guys that other people don't see, and he's done a very good job of really throughout the last decade building this team up through the draft, getting sleeper picks in the draft and building the team that way. But he's also done it through trades, and the Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr. trade was absolutely won by the Raptors, at least so far. And Gary Trent's another one of those players that he saw something in. The scouting of the Raptors saw something in Gary Trent Jr. that no one else across the NBA did, and now he's really blossoming into that player that they wanted him to become. And I think he has a lot of room for improvement and potential as well. This is a guy right now who I think should be in the conversation to legitimately be considered a top 10 shooting guard in the NBA. He's very underrated. He has very dominant aspects to his game, and today I'm going to analyze why he's been so good this season and why he's such a hidden gem and going to be very valuable for the Raptors going into their future. When we analyze Gary Trent Jr.'s game, for me personally, my favorite part of his game is his insane ability to create his own shot. He's like a James Harden Jr. out there. He has an amazing step back three. He's really able to create a lot of separation that way. Does a great job of getting that shot and getting to his spots in the mid-range area and from three. And despite being the fourth or fifth option sometimes on this Raptors team when they're fully healthy, he's still the guy that they can give the ball to late in the shot clock on a blown possession and can still count on him to just get a bucket for the team by himself. This season so far, Gary Trent Jr.'s averaged over 18 points per game, with about 44% of the baskets he scores being unassisted. He shoots pretty much more than half his field goal attempts are 3-point attempts, and even though he's shooting a lot of threes and creating his own shot a lot of the time, he's still been able to shoot a pretty efficient 54.5% true shooting, which is just about 1% below league average for this season in terms of efficiency. So he's done a really good job of getting those shots for himself, like I said, in the mid-range and three-point area, using that step-back three, creating separation. And not only does he do a good job on the ball, he does a good job of being an off-ball player offensively as well. You can count on him to space the floor, have a defender drawn to him most of the time. He is good in getting out in transition, getting to the three-point line. He's done a better job of getting to the rim and getting easy shots there, especially in transition. And he's a very good corner three shooter when he's not playing with the ball in his hands. I mean, Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet have turned into two very good playmakers for this team, and part of the reason for their assist numbers going up this season is a guy like Gary Trent Jr. being on the perimeter and being a very reliable option out there. This season, he's shooting over 38% from three on about 8 attempts per game. Very good volume and efficiency, and whenever he's shooting a three, it's considered a good shot for the Raptors, whether that's him shooting a catch and shoot or, like I said, creating his own shot off the dribble. He's just an amazing three-point shooter and a very good volume shooter as well overall. Gary Trent Jr. has just done a fantastic job for the Raptors this season, being kind of that main guy when they need him to, being that fourth or fifth option offensively when they need him to. And like I said, I think he has some potential to continue to improve and really develop into a star caliber player in the very near future. This is a guy who in his 4 years in the NBA, his points per game has pretty much gone up at least 3 points per game for every season that he's played in the league. And when you actually watch him play, you can see the improvements happening in his game too. He offensively and actually defensively as well, he just looks more comfortable and more just fitting into team flow on the court and becoming a more efficient and more mature player and just an overall better player with the pretty much every aspect of his game, especially offensively. You can just see it improving every year. And when you watch Gary Trent Jr. play, you really see that the stats overall just don't tell the full story. Like I said, he has a great step back jumper, he creates his own shot a lot of the time, and overall just provides a lot of value, especially offensively for the Raptors. And I've just been really impressed with what he's been able to do on that end of the floor this season, and how he's been able to contribute efficiently and be able to, like I said, especially in like late shot clock situations, bail the Raptors out, and overall really emerge as one of the better shooting guards in the entire NBA. For Gary Trent Jr., it's not just how much he's scoring, but it's actually how he's scoring and the abilities that he's shown on the court, and like I said, that he's improving in as well. Like I've mentioned many times, his ability to create his own shot off the dribble, create separation with his great footwork, his crafty handle, and his ability to score really anywhere off the floor, whether it's a catch and shoot or creating his own shot. These aspects of his game are things that are going to really carry with him throughout the rest of his career, and the work that he puts in as well is going to continue to allow him to improve and continue to become one of the best shooting guards in the NBA, and a very valuable piece for the Raptors. Now, on the other side of the ball, this is arguably where Gary Trent Jr. is the most impressive. He's really turning into one of the best defensive players in the league, and I don't think a lot of people are really talking about that. This is a guy who constantly gets in the passing lanes, has great hands, is a great on-ball defender, a versatile defender, and like I said, really just with his hands, getting deflections, getting steals, getting on transition off of those steals, he's really one of the best in the entire NBA at this. He's actually 5th in the entire NBA in deflections per game, with about 3.6 per game, almost 4 deflections per game. Definitely has a really high value when it comes to that. He's also tied for 6th in the NBA with Lonzo for overall steals per game, with almost 2 per game. And like I said, overall he just does a great job of getting his hands in the way and disrupting the flow of offenses when he's on the perimeter. He does a great job being a wing defender, being just overall a perimeter defender at the top of the key, getting those steals, getting his hands in passing lanes, and disrupting offenses. And like I said too, he's a really versatile defender. So what I mean by that, for those of you who don't know what that means, he's able to defend multiple positions very well. Gary Trent Jr. is one of those guys who, despite being a little bit smaller and only about 6'4", 6'5", he's still strong enough and has the physical ability to defend well in the post and defend against guys that are 3 to 4 inches taller than him. He's a decent interior defender, and he really can defend pretty much 1 through 4 point guard through power forward position. He does a good job on the perimeter, he's a decent interior defender, and because of the Raptors' switchable style of defense, this really allows him to excel in this defensive system with the Raptors. And overall, I've been really impressed with Gary's play on the defensive end of the floor this season. I think he definitely deserves to be in consideration for potentially being a top 30 to top 40 defender in the NBA. And the fact that he's a good defender is really good for the Raptors. This is a team that, especially under Nick Nurse, is really a defensive style team. They've really always, over the last 5 or so years, been one of the better kind of top 10 teams in the NBA on the defensive end of the floor. In 2020, they were the #1 defensive team, and right now they're falling off a little bit just because they're lacking size and lacking that one real strong big man. But because Gary Trent Jr. is a good defender, I think he's going to fit into this Raptors system for years to come. And not only is he going to continue to improve offensively, but under Nick Nurse's system, he's going to continue to improve defensively and provide a lot for this team on that end of the floor, which is really what they pride kind of their whole team culture around. I think I would like to see Gary get a little bit more involved in the other aspects of the game, potentially take a bigger role in this team, be a little bit more of a facilitator and a playmaker, and play a little bit more point guard in this team. Honestly, I think he can maybe take on the role that Scottie Barnes has been taking on recently of being kind of that backup point guard for this team, especially when Fred VanVleet is out, and he has really been closing some of these games when Freddie's been out, being the guy that runs the offense down the stretch. They try to get the ball to him late in the games to shoot the free throws to close out games, and I think him playing this role a little bit more will be all the best for him. He's only averaging 2 assists per game this season, only 3 rebounds per game, but as he gets a bigger role, I think you could see these numbers go up as well with him and the Raptors. Like I said, just getting a bigger role, getting more used to the system on this team, and overall just improving in every aspect of the game, because that's really what he has done throughout his career so far and what he will continue to do. overall, Gary Trent Jr. showed that he's an amazing scorer. He does a fantastic job of creating his own shot and showing his really basketball athletic ability. He's been a great defender, a scrappy defender, puts in lots of effort on that side of the floor. And this is another really hidden gem that the Raptors found in a trade this time, and he, like I said, still has room for improvement, still has lots of potential, and is going to be one of the key pieces for this Raptors core moving forward in their future. And I really look forward to seeing what Gary Trent Jr. does with the rest of his career, because he really is a special player, very underrated, and the whole world needs to see just how good he really is. Thank you all for watching today's video. That's all the analysis I have for you guys today. Be sure to leave your comments down below and your thoughts on Gary Trent Jr., his future with the Raptors, and the season that he's been having this year. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all next video.